Welcome to the Verb Altitude Hour on WRUU-LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. The viewpoints expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of WRUU, its license holder, or its staff. The following program contains subject matter and realistic language that some listeners may find objectionable. Listener discretion is advised. Today at the Verb Altitude Hour, I've got myself, Carrie Smith, and Torvin Pristel, local community activists and DJ and new dad.
It's good to be back with you, as always, Carrie. And good to be talking with you here on the Verb Altitude Hour. I got a lot to talk about Savannah this week. Rising crime rates, Shia LaBeouf, and the proposed memorial for one of the shooters in the infamous now shooting in City Market.
Yes, sir.
So let's start with just the crime in general and the rising crime rates that is alarming, in particular murder, Carrie.
Yes, sir.
We have so many a 66% rise in crime between 2014 and 2015. Crime rates are going up, and all they're doing is hiring more police, not really doing anything about the problem, which is, like I always say, education. And what are we to think as people in the community? Who can we look to fix this deep problem in our community?
Well, first of all, if you remember the report that I did on a problem statement looking at rising crime rates,
I do.
One of the items or issues for local police department that identified in my paper, and I'm not trying to self-promote, but to lay out the research that is out there to be researched.
Of course.
The double negative.
It's good research, actually. I looked at all of it.
But anyways, one of the largest issues that the SCMPD have is the applicants that are applying actually being qualified and being able to pass a background check and also being able to pass a drug test. They have to be able to qualify.
Right.
And one of the largest issues that college students have is being able to qualify, not only passing a background check, but also being able to pass a drug test. Now, that may not seem like a big deal, but that is a big deal.
It is a big deal, indeed.
And that's one of the largest issues that the SCMPD have had is retaining those students that come out of Savannah State, Armstrong, but not Armstrong anymore, but Georgia Southern University,
Georgia Southern.
right? As they have now
Savannah.
Being able to retain those graduates in Savannah. And it would seem as though, being able to be employed and have a job with the SCMPD would be very attractive. However, the other side of this, after talking with the police chief out at Georgia Southern, but formerly Armstrong, after speaking with the police chief out there and talking about his approach to community awareness, community prevention, building a relationship between the SCMPD and the community. I really got a lot from a couple of interviews and a couple of conversations with him, which added to a personal interview for that paper. And there's three things that came out of that conversation which adds to this dialogue. First of all, the community prevention approach creates an awareness,
right,
and educates while informs, organizes, and activates the community to understand and have a better understanding of the SCMPD. Because I myself, as a regular citizen in Savannah, could watch the news and know what's going on. But until I had a deeper understanding of what was going on, with having conversation with him, I really wasn't activated. His approach is community policing, to whereas you're building a relationship between the police officers and making the public feel comfortable with talking and interacting with police officers, even if it's going through a community and walking in the community and then later going back and, as if they've taken notes, talk to community members, talk to the neighborhood associations, doing as simple as providing a trash can to someone who can afford it, helping someone build a fence.
But isn't that often the problem, that they are supposed to be there to protect and serve?
Yeah, but hold on. Two more things.
Okay.
And then I'll shut up about this. The second thing is the SCMPD has had a lot of corruption.
Right.
And he didn't talk on this. I'm just extrapolating some information.
Of course.
The second thing that he talked about was the fact that of creating programs for agile young people who have nothing to do. And so how can you change the community campus to him? Well, that was to get them involved and activated in doing something off campus. So he had the idea of working with local students at Armstrong. And this was like 2 years ago. So this is 2015 when I had this interview. So it may have grown or dissipated since. But during the interview, he alluded to the fact, and then talked about it further. He talked about how the students at Armstrong were taking time out to help volunteer and provide after-school tutoring to local high school students that needed it in local 8th grade. So by doing this, they have a relationship off campus. During this time, Armstrong was experiencing a rise in crime. And this was also because of the shootings in 2015, the local corruption, allowing weapons on campus. It brought in a lot of negative consequences before these issues got ironed out with giving students more freedom on campus. And then the third thing is being aware of why the retention between graduates either out of high school or college are not staying in Savannah, not applying to the SCMPD, and out of those applicants, only a 35% qualifying and then making it through the academy to graduate, after coming out. That's even half once they get in there. So we're seeing like 25 to 29% of the applicants. And I said half, but a little less than a quarter of that. I mean, the percentages just show that the SCMPD have a hard time. Well, the other thing is, after looking at in-depth research, which Eric Curl, reporter for the Savannah Morning News, looked at, and he looked at the fact that the SCMPD have a hard time with not exhausting the police officers. The ones on the current ones on staff, they're understaffed. While they're waiting for graduates to graduate from the police academy, it's really hard to retain those individuals, but also to maintain current employees, current police officers who are working second shift and working extra shifts, but also not having enough to work a beat or work a rotation or work a route, and responding to so many different shootings. See, we have a technology now which picks up on different shootings. Right. Which means that we have more crime that's being reported, and is a shooting a shooting? Is a shooting actually a shooting? So there's a lot of different factors that are at play when we really break it down and conceptualize what's really going on.
But the crime rate is high.
The crime rate is high.
The crime rate's high. The murder rate's high.
It's grown since 2015.
And the police don't necessarily get paid very much, just similar to teachers.
And their graduates are young.
The starting salary for a police officer in Savannah is $39,230. That's not a lot of money for a lot of people with a family to support, and quite frankly, they're underpaid. Now, they're also overworked. They're not working 40-hour shifts. They're working very long shifts, as you alluded to, and they're also picking up extra jobs to make extra money for their families, and deservedly so, doing extra security jobs and what have you. And by all means, if you want to work. It's America. Do your thing. But they shouldn't have to, and a lot of them feel like they do have to. And then also, as you alluded to, it does not help when you're trying to get out into the community, when you're trying to get out into the community as police officers or as a steward of the police precinct, and you're going to community saying, well, you need to trust us, or trust us again, or trust us now, and you didn't before. And you have to, I don't think they're really going out there saying, hey, we were corrupt before, but now we're okay. They're just saying, we've always been fine, guys. Come on, like, you can trust us, And that doesn't really work with anyone on the street. I don't know. Poor people aren't stupid.
I don't think it works when you're when since 2015, since the last city election, we're approaching another city election. They've been discussing, they being city council,
right,
have been discussing dissolving its relationship between the SCMPD, which has only been around for almost a decade and a half.
Something like that.
The merger, about a decade and a half, because the county is able to maintain. Because a lot of the police officers are pulling from the sheriff's offices, and a lot of the police is pulling more from the county than it is from the city. The city is the one that is over the hiring, which the county has more officers. So, being able to retain those officers. See, the city is the holdup here, not the county, it's the city. Yeah.
It seems like anything to help in this town takes an act of God. Everyone must all join hands together and pray.
It seems in a lot of ways that the city council has got so political, so political, that it can't keep up with the demands because they're so busy keeping those positions and trying to maintain a public face. That it doesn't seem that they're really taking in consideration its citizens. So when you compare the city council being the holdup and talking about this discussion of dissolving its relationship with the county, past the merger that we've had for 16 years, it's the county that is fed up with the city. It is really the county who said, hey, you get us some applicants. Oh, sorry. You get us some applicants, or we're just not going to be prepared. I mean, we have plenty of officers, because we could do our thing with sheriff's office and just say, you take your city folks and you take your poor application process and your poor pool of applicants.
It's hard to deal with the city of Savannah on any front.
Right.
Anyone
because there's
who
so
has
many
done
levels
here,
of governments, two different separations between departments, not enough conversation. When a lot of this is
there's red tape everywhere here.
So much red tape that the process could be streamlined by just forming interdepartmental committee of extra departmental organization or groups, departments coming together to iron out the details.
But what to do about the corruption at the top? Because, see, I think this is the biggest issue.
That's up to the citizens.
Well, is it up to the citizens? I don't think so. Because the bad apples in the police in the police ranks are often at the top, and they're the worst.
Police ranks
police officers. Most of the police officers that we have are hardworking, excellent officers, and they get thrown under the bus every time something happens with a corrupt officer or a bad officer, they all get lumped together, and they're all in a group, and they band together, they stick together, and you can see why people do that. But that's not necessarily fair to the police officers. But you have to realize and recognize that there are a lot of corrupt ones on all levels, and many times at the top. And it's something that is taught year after year also in the academy. That is passed down. It doesn't just happen organically all the time. Even though some would say it does happen organically when you give someone that kind of a power.
What is it?
Corruption is the it.
Okay.
Of any type. So if you're a black cop and you're like, well, now I got picked on by these white guys in school. I'm gonna do nothing but arrest white guys. Well, you're a racist cop, or vice
You've
versa.
retaliated in a revengeful capacity.
You have used your position and to impose not to protect and to serve, but to impose fear and to arrest. And that's not right. There are a lot of other examples that I could get into. So what do you do about that? I feel like there has to be an independent body or group of people who look into complaints, because police can't be.
There is the 311.
Well, you can't trust, in my opinion, police to police themselves.
Right, but no, the 311 is the non-emergency line where individuals can file complaints. But here's the deal. You can also file a complaint about a police officer, but where is that going to go? You can
that's
go to
exactly
a captain,
what I'm saying.
And you can file a complaint, but then does that put a target on your shoulder for,
it makes no sense. There should be an independent party for people to report things to. And in that way, we can have some real movement on what police officers are being reported more often. We need to know how many police officers are shooting people, which they don't keep track of. We do have that new technology which tracks the number of possible the number of shots fired by a police officer.
No. But in general, in Savannah, it's I forgot the name of it.
Yes, I do know the technology you're talking about. It picks up on shots.
The sound of a possible fire shot.
Right. Of course.
Right.
But
and it triggers the police officer to report to those areas where a possible fire was shot, and in also reference to follow up with individuals who've called in about a fire shot. So it's not always completely accurate. The technology is not always completely accurate.
Definitely not. A lot of gaps there. Let's move on.
Okay.
To Mr. LaBeouf.
Well, first, before we get started, should we play the video where he got arrested at Savannah?
Let's play a short clip of that. Yes.
Okay. This is from CNN. So this went on national news. Actor Shia LaBeouf, who's played in Transformers, was it Transformers 1 and 2? I think he may have also played in Transformers 3. Anyway.
Even Stevens, Say What, Karaoke, ER, Freaks and Geeks, The Nightmare Room.
According to the word on the street, he was here filming a movie and was staying at the Indigo Hotel.
I do believe so.
The Indigo Hotel. And he was after hours. It was at the time in the evening.
4 in the morning, was it?
4 in the morning, where the police are clearing the streets when the city is coming through Parks and Recs.
So let's break this. Let me break this down for people who don't know what happens downtown. At 3 in the morning, you're kicked out of the bar. It's really at 2:45. Mm-hmm. And between 3 and 4, it's kind of you're stumbling around. Let me find my way back to wherever I'm going hour. Now, Mr. LaBeouf found himself in that particular witching hour.
Right before the sanitation crew comes through to clean up all the trash out of the street.
Very close to that time. Now he finds himself in front of a police officer. Now, I have to say I sympathize with Mr. LaBeouf I feel like there are plenty of people who were in his state of inebriation or worse around Savannah, and Savannah is kind of famous for that. So I don't necessarily think that he should have been arrested for wanting a cigarette. Let's go ahead and play a bit of the clip.
Yes, let's do that. This is after the police officers enter the Hotel Indigo to make the arrest.
What did I do, sir?
Bro, why you drilling my face?
Because I have rights.
I
I have rights. I'm an American.
Come on, talk to me.
You got me in my hotel.
So Mr. LaBeouf was noticeably irritated.
Arrested me in my hotel for doing what, sir?
Let's go.
Yo, you really got these cuffs on me heavy, bro.
I'll stick.
Let me out.
Listen, can we talk, me and you?
No, we can't talk nothing.
Listen,
Take these
I'm
cuffs
not
out.
the one
I'm
arresting
American.
you.
I pay
Okay.
my taxes. Get the off my arms.
So we're not gonna have a conversation?
No,
Okay.
you gonna put these off my arms, or you be fighting for it. You got a president that don't give a about you, and you stuck in a police force that don't give a about you. So you want to arrest white people who give a who ask for cigarettes?
I'm sorry.
I came up to you trying to be nice, you stupid.
Okay.
All right. So he was able to figure out that he was a white guy and not a black guy really quickly. So he couldn't have been that drunk. But the officer was offering to talk to him. He did deny that conversation. But maybe at that point he felt like he should deny that conversation. I'm not sure exactly what happened before that. Could have been a lot going on. But this is, I feel like, an example, Carrie, of over-policing. Mm-hmm. It's a little too much.
Community policing taken on a scale from 1 to 10 to 9.99.
I mean, this belongs on the segment on ESPN. Come on, man. What was this cop thinking? In my opinion, you arrest a noticeably, ridiculously famous person who's a little drunk on the streets of Savannah, not really bothering anybody but you. And
I've seen plenty of times where they've been real characters downtown as an Uber
my
driver.
God, yes.
You know, and most of the time the police will say, "Let's get this person a
Get
cab.
him going. Get him out of here.
Or you need to get to your hotel. You know, calm down." But it's just like it escalated with that aggressive mentality with the police officer. How many police officers were there? Were like 4.
Does it take that many police officers to subdue
Seriously.
Mr. LaBeouf? I do not think so. Now,
then not to take into account the police officer also video recording this and it leaking out to the news. Are you serious?
But it doesn't get. Strangely, only the end of the video gets leaked. The beginning doesn't get leaked. How it all starts. But
how it all
I'd like to see the beginning of the video before I give a definitive, thumbs up or thumbs down for his actions on the video that I saw. I don't want to judge too soon. But why would we want this type of negativity in our city where we are always supposedly wanting more people to visit? We're the hostess city, apparently, is what we call ourselves here, and I love that name.
City of hospitality.
We're Southern Charm, city of hospitality. Yeah, come on in. But it doesn't say anything about arresting you when you're as drunk as everyone else. I don't understand that. And we already have too many reports of crime as it is. We already have a negative view nationally about our crime in the area, and I feel like this is just adding a negative view to our beautiful city here. So we're gonna take a quick break, Savannah, and we'll be right back. My name is Torvin Prestel here with Carrie Smith on WRUU LP Savannah, Georgia, with 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul on the Verb Altitude Hour.
This portion of WRUU-LP Savannah Soundings programming is made possible by a grant from Brighter Day Natural Foods, offering produce, vitamins, and supplements, and a deli and juice bar. Brighter Day is located at 1102 Bull Street at the south end of Forsyth Park. More information available at 912-236-4703 or brighterdayfoods.com.
If you enjoy our programming on WRUU-LP, please support the station with a donation. As an individual, you can give any amount, become a basic station member, or become a serious fan of the station. To check out membership rates and to donate to the station, go to www.wruu.org/individual and select to donate monthly or subscribe to an annual membership. Again, to donate to the station, go to www.wruu.org/individual and select to donate monthly or subscribe to an annual membership. Thank you for listening to and supporting WRUU-LP.
Welcome back to the Verb Altitude Hour on WRUU-LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM. WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. Torvin.
Yes, ma'am.
What's happening, man? What is going on with the shootings in Savannah? Actors getting arrested, shooting after shooting. It's like your mama always says, or the old live saying is, nothing good goes on between 12 to 4 a.m.
Well, that is what that is what they say. Unfortunately, I have to disagree with that because I'm regularly up at that time. But right. A lot of times that is when trouble does happen. And recently is a very good example of that. The crime here, I do believe, Carrie, and I always have to come back to this because I do really truly believe this, is with the education here and how overworked the teachers are and underpaid. And they're paying for school supplies for their students out of their own pocket. I think that's terribly wrong. Students can't afford to pay attention a lot of times with them not being able to eat in the school lunches if their family makes maybe just a little too much for them to get free lunch, and the lunch selections aren't the greatest anyway, but at least it's food. I'm not here to argue about that. But I do think it starts with education. I think we should pay our teachers a little more.
Which is a good interjection that we will be talking about this next week.
We will have a more dedicated show to the teachers of our local area here, and
the inequalities of teacher pay,
and their struggles and their triumphs.
Right.
So let's get to a little more of this conversation here about crime in Savannah and another incident that is terribly sad and heart-wrenching, where we have the death of a stalwart, awesome person in our community. Unfortunately, he had to lose his life through that, and I would like to talk a little about the people who were affected on the other side of that, who I do believe Spencer Stuckey killed in the car crash.
Spencer Stuckey is a 17-year-old who was killed instantly in the crash. Stuckey's family is the one who's been speaking out, changing the language regarding the two individuals that died with the 17-year-old young man of this crime. So pretty much Stuckey's family is speaking out, talking about the language regarding thug, regarding gang, and stating that the three individuals came together as a family. And family is used loosely in quotation marks here.
Right.
They determined family as being a group of individuals hanging out that act as family, so not being necessarily blood related.
So, Carrie.
Yes.
even if it was my family member, I still would have to say the same thing. I'm not holding a vigil for my family member who is doing nefarious things and ends up dying as a consequence. I may love my family member dearly, but he does not need a prayer vigil on the site of the death of another person that he is responsible for killing, in my opinion. So the family here is way out of line, and they did literally spark a race war of sorts.
Yeah,
here locally.
And it started by online bloggers harassing the Farrell family. That is the relatives, the brothers and sisters and mom of Mr. Stuckey, who have called to organize the community around this subject, talking about family, and it brings to light a different point of view. Family. It brings to light the other side of those considered victims. And are they victims? My question is, were they accomplices? Did they have understanding of what was going to be going on? Did they have an awareness? Did they know of the shootings before reaching City Market at 12:18 on July the 5th? 12:18 a.m. Did they know
Usually
what was going to go down? Were they just driving?
Usually,
you know,
when you're doing a shooting, you know that there's a shooting happening. I mean, that's like, it's a group family mentality. You don't hide things from family, do you? You don't hide things from your not when you're going to do a shooting and you're a family, quote unquote. So this family in this car decided to go do a shooting, and a few of them ended up dead. Well, that kind of happens sometimes when you go to kill people. Sometimes you die. So don't look to the city for support of your family member who has taken up this lifestyle that is glamorized many times in the media, through music and movies and what have you. Don't come to the city for sympathy when one of your family members dies. I am sorry for your loss, but I'm not that sorry. He took another life. He took multiple lives in the process of shooting people. I can't see how you can't wrap your brain around, oh, people may not like this. So I don't think it should be a black or white kind of argument. I think it's who has common sense and who doesn't. You can't tell me you're going to defend someone because they had a hard time in life, or they were racially discriminated against, and maybe even systematically through the police in their particular low income neighborhood. Even to that extreme, you still can't get any sympathy from. There are plenty other people in the same situation who are not going out doing drive-bys and shootings in crowds and clubs. So
they originally, the Farrell family, Reuben Farrell and Gwendolyn Farrell, the relatives of Stuckey, Mr. Stuckey, stated on WSAV that they had planned a candlelight vigil at the site of the crash near the Five Guys Burgers, but they canceled the event after receiving threats on social media leading up to the memorial. And this is what exposed the conversation that the majority doesn't understand. And from the point of view from the community perspective, we're talking specifically the community where the mob or the family is not, the mob is not family, but a family according to the Farrell family. He was raised among six children, but they're stating that a memorial service was due because of the fact that even though they're family, they had their back. He was still he was still innocent.
He was a child.
It was a child, and he was innocent because he was associated as guilty without there being evidence reviewed by the media before the young man who did the shooting was convicted, but before a jury in a court of law.
Oh.
They're stating that he is deserving of a memorial because he got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, while this is certainly something that does happen to people, you do get caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. You make the wrong decisions. But if you are caught in the wrong place at the wrong time,
Buck Island.
if you're with some friends and they say that, hey, we're going to the
Viewer
bank,
report came to WS.
if you're with some friends and you say, hey, let's go to the bank, they say, hey, let's go to the bank, and then they end up robbing that bank with you, and you happen to have a gun on you that you guys all carry together. Well, guess what? You're in the wrong place at the wrong time, but you just robbed the bank,
saying
buddy.
he is concerned.
So let's call a spade here. You were involved in a shooting with a group of people. It doesn't matter.
And the young man, just to make sure we're on point, his name is Jerry Chambers, who's facing felony murder, according to the Chatham County.
Is it triple murder, right?
Triple murder.
Triple murder.
3 counts.
Right. So, and this guy should have never been out of jail.
According to WTOC.
He should have never been out of jail, and it's very possible that he's the ringleader, the one who got these guys all riled up to do this. Who cares? In the end, it doesn't matter. The family of Scott Waldrop are not going to see him again. The hero who saved other people's lives and gave up his own on Bay Street. Very sad. Like I told you last time, I did not know Mr. Waldrop personally. I met him a couple times, but this was terrible that he was killed. More people would have died if it wasn't for him, and I do appreciate his sacrifice. I really truly do, and I'm sure that they appreciate it as well. Well, there is no room for any kind of memorial. So I do think the family has just been inflaming views around town and unnecessarily, and that we should just, I feel, not pay them any attention. I feel like they should not be allowed to have a memorial there. You should not be able to have a memorial if you end up dying and when you go to kill people. That's just the bottom line. If you were in the wrong place, wrong time or not, it doesn't matter. Like he was in the car with his friends and family. Their words. So I don't believe that's, but that's something that should happen. But if we look at the underlying cause of that entire incident and where these guys came from, I see that they're trying to make the case that, well, they're a victim of the system, or they're a victim of injustice, and that's why they have to band together and be in this gang or be, this thug family. I disagree with that notion. This is something that is perpetuated, like I was saying, through a lot of the music that these kids listen to, and the media they see on TV and in movies. But the music, I think, is where it really hits and kind of changes.
Not being able to differentiate between the actual lifestyle and just the music having a poetic or artistic expression.
Well, they use the music to learn in lieu of their parents because their parents aren't teaching them. So they're learning from music, and they're learning from the wrong music, the music that they think is cool. And they're looking up to people who are, a lot of them, career criminals in a lot of low income neighborhoods.
So a new development from this case involving Chambers, Stuckey, Waldrop is now, according to the technicality of what is considered a murder and what is not considered a murder, is that these 4 deaths are not going to be considered a reflection in the number of murders that happened this year. It's not going to be considered as a statistic to the overall number of homicides because of the fact that Chambers did not intend, according to the case, according to the information being broadcast in local news by WTOC, WSEV, according to Meg Heap, local DA, that the case involving Waldrop, McGullis, and Stuckey are not going to be considered homicides because it was not Chambers' intent to kill the 3 individuals.
So what is it? Involuntary manslaughter?
No, the technicality with the number being reported, not the crime committed, not
I got you.
what he was convicted for, but what is being considered an accurate depiction of homicides where intent was put there, intent was present and followed out.
Well, I'll tell you right now, that's flat out ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
That's flat out ridiculous. That's basically lying to the people of this city and the people who would like to come here.
It stated that his intent was, according to Chambers, was to elude police, not to kill individuals.
I'm sorry,
You're
but
lost
if
for
you're
words, Torben.
what how and they say okay to that. Okay, you're trying to elude police, which number one, that's a whole different discussion on whether they should have been chasing him.
Yeah, because we talk about the different technicalities of standardization,
but if
of
you're
national statistics.
if you're driving a car,
Lumpkin's just trying to align the metro numbers along with FBI standardized reporting.
Mr.
according
Waldrop
to
had
Savannah
to push
Williams.
people out of the way of this vehicle. This was a
Exactly.
crowded area, pedestrians only, sidewalk with barriers that the car destroyed. So if you're going to tell me, hey, well, I ran through the barriers and up on the sidewalk where all the people were, but hey, I didn't mean to kill anybody. Well, I'm going to say, shut up. Yes, you did. And we're going to charge you with murder, and you have to count that as someone trying to kill people. It doesn't make, of course he was trying to get away. But if he hit a car and then he killed someone in the car, that's vehicular homicide. If he doesn't go on the sidewalk and he hits the car and he kills people in the car, that's vehicular
here's the
homicide. Why is
question.
it not vehicular homicide when he hits people on the sidewalk?
And here's another question I would like to raise.
The DA's here.
Why is this death, or why are these shootings and these deaths any different than the other shootings that have been reported in the City Market area over the last year and a half? Any different? Why is it being isolated?
I'll tell you why.
Well, hold on. But the SBDA president, Karen Gunn, why is it being isolated by the mayor, Eddie DeLoach? Why is it being isolated by Lumpkin? It feels like there is a conversation to whereas this is trying to be articulated and presented to the public by powers that be. And we've just talked about who those powers are. That there is the approach that is being taken, which is being galvanized.
They only want to save their seats.
Is it saving their seats, but also not reducing tourism, as Savannah is being seen as a violent area?
It is.
Changing the conversation to whereas it doesn't provoke individuals from going somewhere else, rather than retaining those dollars and those visitors to Savannah.
they can't really do anything about that, though. They're trying to get out in front of it, but they can't get out in front of it. Once it comes out, now it's like, oh, well, we don't like that because 4 people die in one night.
But the statistics are still there, regardless of whether, as a statistician, as a social scientist, I can tell you, I get what they're saying. But at the same time, a shooting is a shooting.
Right.
And a death is a death.
A murder is a murder.
Well, talked about we'll have to talk about the technicality of murder on another point.
Concede.
But okay. But I'm just trying to expose the reality of this situation, that between 12 at midnight and 4 a.m. you have a higher likelihood of shootings transpired when, relationships between individuals are sparked because there's drinking, right? And because of, there's less control of one's comprehension, one's motor skills, because there's drinking involved. There's good things involved, but how can that manifest something very negative and provoke a very negative situation when these substances may alter one's, typical mindset to be something more abnormal, is what I'm saying, and add the gun into the situation.
Well, I don't know that these particular I like to call them idiots were drinking. I think they may.
No, they weren't. But I'm saying the other shootings. In other shootings prior to this, there were 2 or 3 cases from 2016, which shooting near Molly McPherson's had to do with alcohol. With alcohol.
Right.
The other shooting that happened prior to this situation back around St. Patrick's Day involved alcohol.
Well, the states with the highest gun deaths usually have lax laws with alcohol and guns. Now, I don't have any reason to argue against guns or alcohol. But that is just something that happens. I think that does organically happen in a place where you do have lax gun laws and lax alcohol laws, just statistically by state.
Well, this recent article in Savannah Morning News states that Chief of Police of the SCMPD, Lumpkin, has said that reducing the violence in Savannah is not a turnkey process, and that he refers to Savannah as a mid-sized community. And he also says that we have to work on what is in front of us right now, which is solving the issues with the local police and continuing to strive for reaching a goal of communication between the police and between the community. So with that said, let's come back on that third segment and talk more about the issues of gun violence in Savannah, talking further about the 4th of July incident, Shia LaBeouf, and some other things. This is the Verb Altitude Hour on WRUU-LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul.
This portion of WRUU-LP Savannah Soundings programming is made possible by a grant from Brighter Day Natural Foods, offering produce, vitamins, and supplements, and a deli and juice bar. Brighter Day is located at 1102 Bull Street at the south end of Forsyth Park. More information available at 912-236-4703 or brighterdayfoods.com.
If you enjoy our programming on WRUU-LP, please support the station with a donation. As an individual, you can give any amount, become a basic station member, or become a serious fan of the station. To check out membership rates and to donate to the station, go to www.wruu.org/individual and select to donate monthly or subscribe to an annual membership. Again, to donate to the station, go to www.wruu.org/individual and select to donate monthly or subscribe to an annual membership. Thank you for listening to and supporting WRUULP.
Hello, Savannah. I'm back here with Carrie Smith. My name is Torvin Pristel. This is the Verb Altitude Hour. You are listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. It's good to be back with you here, Carrie.
Thank you.
So we have been talking a little about crime, murder rates, statistics in Savannah, arrest of some fairly famous people, and a bit of a ridiculous attempt at a memorial. And also, as it pertains to the amazing hero, Mr. Scott Waldrop, who I do appreciate very much for saving those lives over on Bay Street in front of Five Guys the other night. And may he rest in peace. Carrie, let's talk a little bit about upcoming elections.
Yes, let's
because a lot of people around town, as I listen, are talking about how can we change things? How can we make this place better? Savannah is actually a very nice and beautiful,
and we now
wonderful
have a
city.
new activated group who want to mobilize in response to I'm going to call it the 4th of July incident.
The 4th of July.
So will we remember July 4th in Savannah as we do 9/11? Will it be, 7/4, July 4th? Will we remember this as being a turning point of those individuals who've come alive in the business community, in the LGBTQ community, those social butterflies,
the people in the
socialites?
LGBT community, of course, were very much hurt by the loss of Mr.
Scott
of
Waldrop,
Scott.
who's become a martyr.
He really has.
For effective change.
And the service industry people really
especially
had a large connection to him, and there are a lot of them.
Who I didn't realize
here.
a large number of them are not registered to vote.
There are a ton of them who are not registered to vote because a lot of them aren't from here.
It seems like they're politically minded, but they didn't have motivation, want to get involved prior to this July 4th incident.
Well, a lot of times when you're from another place, so if you're coming here from California or Illinois or Florida or New York, you're not necessarily that invested in local politics, and you're not registered to vote. You have no idea.
Something directly affects you.
You're a little more knowledgeable about what's going on at home. But when something like this hits home like this, it does make people stand up, pay attention, and say, this is not okay with me. Who's in charge?
Exactly.
People in charge, I feel like, have let Savannah down, and have been letting Savannah down for quite some time. We have had some great leaders, and we have done some great things in this city, and we can do so many more.
In comparison to our current mayor, Eddie DeLoach, in comparison to Edna Jackson, which since this recent election, Edna losing to Eddie DeLoach, there's been less exposure, but leading up to the last city election, there were a lot of conversation related to undertones of her own corruption. But yet, people praised her for her congeniality and her synergy brought in the community regarding some 2016 arrests and shootings, and responding directly by going out to the community and having conversations in predominantly black neighborhoods where these environmental issues take place. And I call them an environmental issue both clinically and academically, but on a street level where the real issues take place.
So there was a lot said about Edna Jackson with corruption. I can't really say that I know a whole lot about that.
But in comparison to the two,
I think there, as I alluded to earlier, there always can be corruption with power.
right?
I don't know exactly what kind of corruption. It was good or bad. I do know one thing. She did get out into the community herself, see what's going on, try to fix the problem. You always have political foes or opponents, or people who want your position, same party, different party, especially when you're mayor. You have a lot of targets on your back. I don't care
Which
who you
the
are.
city election, just for those out there that don't realize, that is a nonpartisan election.
Nonpartisan. There can be multiple Democrats, multiple Republicans.
But they cannot self-identify as either.
Exactly.
They can organize
the
in
mayor.
the back, without the
There-
label.
But people already know. Let's be
People
real.
know.
But you can't put it on the ballot. But people know. But also as it pertains to the city council, there are also a lot of city council elections coming
Are
up.
there any vulnerable seats?
Well, I don't. So I feel like every seat is vulnerable if it's
Right
up for
now.
election.
I feel like, just point blank period, I feel like every seat is vulnerable to incumbency. Every incumbent is vulnerable because young people are mad, young people are tired, and they want to see change. So anybody who's of a certain age is vulnerable, including the mayor.
And people love change. People want to see change, and when you have a lot of
They wanna
negativity,
see
people
their
really
reflection
want to see
of
it.
those people, those elected officials that look like them, talk like them, from their age groups. And do you feel like it's about time?
We do need some fresher blood. I was sad the last time I watched the election results, and not because Trump won, even though I didn't want him to win, for multiple reasons. I won't say anything about that other than Russia.
Okay.
But
Mic drop moment.
I didn't want him to win, but he's a president. He's a president. But I was a little saddened by the people who won locally, some people who ran unopposed. And when they spoke to the camera, I was like, did this person even get past high school? And other races that were tight run races. And then when I started to hear some of their platforms, I'm like, is this what you're concerned about for the city? Is this how you're bringing more money in? I don't think that's really going to help us. So I said I was content to sit back and hope for the best with everybody. Essentially, if you're people locally care about, are you affecting me in my home? So hopefully we can get a good crop of politicians for this next election.
It would be really great to see individuals, even loosely, get involved and start self-promotion and figuring out from different communities. And if we see coalitions spark up between these loose groups of individuals that come out of this, I'm going to call it Scott Waldrop movement.
The Scott Waldrop movement.
Hey, you heard it first on the Verb Altitude Hour.
It has a good ring to it. Scott Waldrop movement.
Torvin, great job.
Thank you very much, Carrie. It was good to be here with you again, as usual. We'll have a great topic for you guys next week as well. We're going to be talking about education, teachers, how they're underappreciated, underpaid, and overworked.
Exactly. I being one of them.
And some symptoms of that and some causes of that. Just kind of talk about a few details as it pertains to education.
Don't give away too much.
And the most important people in our community, the young people.
Right. Don't give away too much, though.
Definitely not.
Okay. Well, this has been the Verb Altitude Hour on WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. The viewpoints expressed in the preceding program were not necessarily those of WRUU, its license holder, or its staff. The subject matter and realistic language that some listeners may find objectionable, listener discretion is advised. And this has been the Verb Altitude Hour on WRUU. Please check back with us online on our Facebook group on the Verb Altitude Hour or on WRUU.org. Scroll over to programming, and under programming go over to Saturday and check us out online as well if you miss a Saturday at 5 p.m. We look forward to hearing from you next week. This has been the Verb Altitude Hour on WRUU.